Um, cool. Next hack, the 1-3-1 rule. So this is something that I've played around with. I've done this in multiple different iterations. So as business owners, all of us can choose what we focus on. And the goal is always to focus on the biggest problem that only we can do. So when I begin to work with someone, we may initially start with, well, how do we carve out time? Because everyone's busy. And you start with maybe some of the admin stuff that someone can do, typically someone already on the staff. If not, we can always hire someone. And then it starts diving into treatment. Why? Because there's other talented people who can treat. And then it starts looking at management, because other people need upward growth, so we put them in management positions. So we're always moving ourselves away from the lowest level activities, because when we're up here, we're making decisions of where the company is going. We're preparing for the uncertainty that's out there. We're designing other programs, alternative revenue streams or what have it. We're building relationships to bring in additional, hires or whatever we're doing. We're keeping them on, ideas on our financial stability and all of this stuff. I mean, that's where we belong. That's where every business owner belongs. That's why they're CEOs, right? That's why they're CEOs. Because if they weren't CEOs, who'd be running the company? Yet, as Michael Gerber said back in the late 90s in his book, The E-Myth, we're playing three different roles. Most of us are still in the business actually treating. That's the technician role. We're the manager, which all of us suck as manager. I'll just give you a little clue on that. We suck as managers. We're much better clinicians than we are managers. And then we're trying to play this owner role. Each role has a completely different mindset. How you think as a clinician is very different of how you should be looking at things as an owner. Yet when we're the same person, we just happen to be doing different times, all of that becomes very confusing. And we make really bad mistakes when we're making the owner decision with a clinical mindset. And that's what dawned on me, which is why I started, diving into all of this and saying, wait a minute, this is all fundamentally flawed. You own a business, you need to learn how to be that business owner. That will change everything about your business. So, one of the things that we can do to help, bring more time is we get interrupted a lot. And we get interrupted, even if there's SOPs in place, which certainly can be one aspect of it, even though there's the DOD's definition of done, which could be another aspect, and shooting videos. Another is empowering your team. And this 1-3-1 rule talks about, first of all, when they come to you with a problem to be solved, not 3 or 4 problems. Has anyone had any staff member come to him or her with more than one problem at one time? Everyone better raise their hand. Because, of course, they have you, they might as well bring up everything that's on their mind. And you're just like, oh my God. So usually at that point, you try to solve the easy ones quickly and you give answers. Of course, you only remember what you give. Then the problem comes back to you and you give someone else different answers. Next, you're creating confusion everywhere because you're just trying to be like, oh my God, I'm right in the middle of patients. I'm right in the middle doing this. And, they're coming to you when they want to come to you. And of course, we're helpful, caregiving people. So we think we're helping them by stopping to answer them. The other thing I've learned is to have them pause for a minute to think about potential solutions, options with this. In other words, if you say, I don't know, what's a good one? Like time off. Can I, I just wanted to know, can I take time off, during the thing? And there's really no kind of SOP or anything in place. They're just asking. It'd be better for them to say, well, why don't you think about some options or solutions of how to best determine time off for people? Instead of putting all of that on us, they're very capable. Let's say it's your office manager or something like that. Well, they could come up with possibly, well, I guess one option could be first come, first served. The other option could be is based on seniority of how long you've been here. You know, there's another option in there. I mean, if someone brings me two options, I'm okay with that a lot of times. And then the third one would be, so out of all the options, which one do you think is best? What I found is when people actually slow down for a second, a couple things happen. One, I don't know the percentage, but a good portion of the time, they don't actually bring the problem to you because it took too much energy for them to really think about what's going on. And they decided either it wasn't worth it or they figured it out versus just the impulse of just going to mom and dad for the answer. Two, when they really start thinking about solutions and what to do about it, they come up a lot of times with actually a pretty good options. It may not be the same option you say yes to, but you know that they're taking the time to actually try to solve their, and I appreciate that with people. I don't care about if they get it right. I never care about people getting it right. You know, I've shared that with you over the last few weeks is I don't care if you do it perfectly. That's irrelevant. It's, did you try? Are you making some type of progress with this? Because that's what matters to me. Because if I have a staff that actually is trying to, on some level, just think about, well, what is the problem? What are some, you know, possible options here, solutions? And what do you think? Now I have a collaborator with this. And the more I'm doing that, the more I'm empowering them. Again, it's that empower word. And it's allowing them to be a part of this company versus just being the Jamey show and everyone else is just a pawn waiting for me to ask them something. And I'll pause after this statement. Doing stuff is addictive. Being right is addictive. We all have SPS. Does anyone know what SPS is? Smart person syndrome. We all have it. We're very smart. We went to school. You did not make it to school by having wrong answers. You were right a lot. The kids now have to be right even more than when I was in school for sure. I never get in right now. So you're talking about people that pride themselves on being right. And then a patient comes to you, and what happens? They ask for your help. Well, you want to be right with them too. And then all of a sudden, you decide to open up a business, and people are coming to you. And you want to give them the answers because it feels good. And then all of a sudden, you're an overwhelmed operator trapped in your business with everyone else alone, what you have to do. And now this isn't that much fun anymore. And although I still feel good getting that dopamine hit of answering the question, it isn't serving anyone, especially me. And if I'm not served well, I don't show up and help everyone else. So by doing this, and I'm flexible with this, we can talk about variations of this, it allows them to come to you with something. It allows them to learn and to start thinking differently about problems. And what happens a lot, they actually don't bring the problem to you. They can solve it on their own. And the same thing happens when this is implemented into your staff with the managers. Same thing. Most managers are inundated with lots of questions. So you're teaching, look, we're all about mentoring, we're all about helping, but we're also all about empowering people. You guys are really smart and you can come up with a lot of decisions. And we have a culture that encourages that. Doesn't mean we're going to agree with the decision, but the more you do it, the more you'll start thinking how we do, which is really powerful. So I put my little thing, dumb yourself down. I say that all the time. You know, I've learned the first half of my life being the smartest in the room, the second half being the dumbest in the room. Because then I have to ask questions and then I have to listen and learn versus being the person that knows everything. So questions around, comments around the 1-3-1 rule. Christine, how do you think that could be implemented into your practice? What's one thing that's coming to mind that you can do and use that that philosophy of having your staff come to you with a problem, possible solutions, and then a one that they think would work best.
Right. So we can incorporate that into our meetings so that, just asking these questions to get them thinking about what the problem is and what the possible solutions can be. I try to, in a similar sense, implement it because I always remind them that they're the ones actually doing the job. So they will see problems or issues in our processes that I don't see. So how can we make things better? But regularly doing it in our weekly meetings, I think will be helpful. And it will give them a sense of like ownership, in a sense, like I have a voice in what I do rather than me giving the answers, which may not be right.
To your schedule.
Right. But free up a lot of my time and mental energy.
And how many times a week, if you're just guessing, how many interruptions do you get?
A lot. A lot.
Yeah. Someone else.
I have a question on it, Jamey. So do you have any suggestions around like also guiding them as to when to bring the problem and potential solutions to you? Because even if they're really successful at this, is it best to try to encourage them like, okay, when we meet weekly, that's when I want you to bring me that problem? Or is it, hopefully you're filtering out more things that they're solving on their own, but do you have any suggestions?
This is what we talked about. The reason I did this intensive because of how important it is. What do you see as the biggest friction in actually putting this in place? Biggest problem that you foresee or that could be? So what would be a viable solution for you? Because, we talked about several of them, but what would be the one solution for you that you think would make the biggest impact on what you just said?
Through the process of putting this down in video form and going through the developing of the habit the other way, through reviewing everybody's job descriptions and seeing, are these things actually, are they doing what we're supposed to be doing? Or am I just sort of taking over because the habit is easy? So the solution is to start with this program, like we started with, making even the silliest nonsensical things somewhere, and develop the habit of complex ones there as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love what you said about starting with the job description. I've done a lot of training around emotional intelligence, leadership training and stuff. And every time I speak to a group of employees, owners not there, a part of this, I always start off with that question. I go, where's the confusion in your world? And invariably they say, the job description in which I was hired has nothing to do with what I'm actually doing. No one has ever said it's in line. No one. Been doing this 10 years. No one's ever said, yep, what I was hired to do, what I'm doing right now, it's exactly there. So imagine that you have this being said, and most of the job descriptions that I read are usually just vague. They're just words that someone copied from somewhere else. And they're just doing their job, I don't know, just the way they do it. There's not a lot of guidance and mentorship happening. There's not a lot of SOPs in place to guide them. There's not a lot of metrics in place to monitor them. So of course it just is what it is. And of course you're getting nonstop questions and comments and this and that you're just trying to stay above water. So starting at that place, I think, is a really good place to start. Carrie, what about you? What do you see as a place of friction? I like the word friction because it doesn't say you can't overcome it. It's just a place that you can see some resistance in putting in place and really kind of protecting your time more and ultimately buying back your time.
Yeah, I am a small new business owner, and so I'm still wearing all the hats and doing all the things. And so for me, it's that fear, I think, of, but if I'm not generating that, how will I get that income? Like letting go of that a little bit. And I think for me, a lot of what I'm taking is that getting SOPs in place makes it, better for the staff that I do have. And as I'm looking to hire new people, I'm feeling more confident in how they're going to perform so I can let that go, or how they're going to understand what we're about. And I see those things together. So it's getting those things in place and being ready to hire someone that is going to stick around and is going to be a good asset to the business versus me continuing to do all the things and being worried about money.
Kristen, what about you? What is friction?
Yeah, I think for me, I struggle, like I'm kind of in that in between. I'm still like you, Carrie, like small, wearing a lot of hats, but trying to get kind of to that next step. And so as I'm trying to delegate more of these things and hand it off, what I catch myself doing is like, oh, do I want them to teach, like we're just onboarding a new PT. Like, do I want them to teach them that? Like, do I want them to pick up their bad habit or the way they're going to teach it? And like fearing the outcome of letting somebody else do it, I think is a big thing for me. And yet knowing I need to, even if it is something that we have to like learn and grow and reteach maybe along the way, I think letting that happen. But that's something I've been struggling with is looking at that and saying, no, I want to show them how I want it done, because I haven't really done that yet in my business. Kind of slow, gradual, add a person here and there. So it's always been kind of me onboarding, and with the growth we've had, this is a very necessary next step to get to the next level. But that's the biggest fight I have every day, is when I'm looking at that of, I want to do it because I want it to be shown or taught my way, so it's the right way, versus letting them do it their way and then tweaking and perfecting that and having progress for everyone. So
certainly a challenge that every single person I've ever talked to has. And I have some perspective on that. If there's not a ton in place, so you're kind of creating this in real time. It's hard to create a whole new onboarding process when you haven't had anyone to onboard and you've learned all this stuff. So you can sit there and just watch your staff screw it all up. Say, you know what? I'm going to do it. Now, you're probably not going to have to do everything, because onboarding, there's a lot of steps to onboarding. So there might be a couple steps you can give to someone who could do well. But for whatever the onboarding step might be, this is how we do an evaluation. This is billing best practices. This is how we, do this, or whatever the case is. You could just tell yourself, you know what? I'm going to do it, but I'm going to document everything that we do. So sometimes you just step it up and say, here's how we do it, capture it, and there you go. So don't, I don't like to say the word don't, just be mindful of when you start feeling angst around, should I do it or not do it? That alone will drive you crazy. Just do it. Just make sure we're like, I don't want to do this again and again and again. That's all. If you take nothing away, take that part away. If not, you'll just be looking for the perfectionist, and that'll drive you crazy more when they screw it up and you just watch them do it. What about you? What's the angst thing that you see in implementing some of these time management things?
I think along with some of the points that Kristen mentioned, it's the control. It's just giving up that control. Not like I'm a controlling individual, but I feel like I've made every single mistake that a person can make in this business, and so there's a reason why I'm doing things the way I'm doing them now, and I don't want the results of making that same mistake 2 or 3 times to like get all over my staff and my business. So, it's just trying to make sure that I've learned from it, and this time doing it right, and not wanting to sit back and let other people make all those mistakes.
Yeah. Mistakes aren't a bad thing. It's like the definition of insane. It's making a mistake again and again and again and just not learning from it. That's a bad thing. But when you have tools in place, which is, we have something called the mini debrief, which is like a reflection tool. It allows people to learn from their experience so we can avoid making a mistake in the future. So for you, be careful of that urge to keep it, because if you truly care about your team wants to grow, and you have a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom to help them grow as professionals and as people and all of that. So it's really about just putting in place maybe some of the things that we shared with you in the last few weeks, putting in place some tools and some strategies that you're not just letting them do something and failing, but you are, putting your best effort, whether it's through a video or a checklist or some other type of thing, the DoD thing. Just really putting in that because you're certainly capable of doing it, because these people are professionals. I mean, they've gone through school, they're healing people, they're buying houses and cars. I'm sure they could follow some SOPs. So it's really about what are we doing to give them the best chance of being successful. And when you put that on you, it's easier because I know I'm going to do it. So I just keep putting everything on me. If Kristen's not doing something, what am I doing, or how can I improve to help Kristen be successful? Am I not being clear enough? Am I being vague? Does she not have the right tools or the right training? Because if it turns out, and this is a very small percentage of the time, Kristen's just not the right person, you know what? I'm probably going to encourage Kristen to go somewhere else, because this is not the right place for her. And I don't want to see her miserable and us. But, as I forgot the guy's name, Pearson, and other dude. There's a great quote. He says, 94% of the time, the problems in your business are not people related. They're process related. And I agree with that. I think it's more than that, because the people I've talked to, out of all the people I've worked with, hundreds of directors and staff people I've worked with, most of them are really great people. They just weren't given the right process, clarity, expectation, whatever it was. If they were, they would do it. So once they get that, they thrive. But if we make it up in our head that they're this or they're that, or no one does as well as we limit everyone. So, and this goes for everyone, not just Sue. We're human beings. All of us do this. But now at this level, we're now conscious that we have a tendency to do this. So what are we going to do? How are we going to catch ourselves? How are we going to start, changing our actions to a new habit? Graham, you don't change your habit to a new action. It starts with doing the different action. Then the mind will start transforming that. We can think our way all to day one. That's not going to change anything. So at this point, we're really at the stage of we know stuff. There's some stuff that's pretty easy to put in place, some stuff that might be maybe not timely right now. The real magic here is implementation, is putting this into action, is having the courage to just try it and to see what happens, and then just take another step and another step. And that's not easy to do. And as Kristen would tell you, sometimes a guide, sometimes we need a mentor, sometimes we need someone just in our corner to help us think through these things. We can bring the execution of implementation, but sometimes we just need to think through what we're doing. We need that coaching. We need that guidance. If we have that guidance, we can do it. And, I don't know your business models intimately, but rarely have I seen a business model that couldn't be profitable. It may not be profitable right now because of whatever reason, but it could be profitable. And more importantly, or maybe equally as importantly, it could be profitable without you in the day-to-day. That's what Practice Freedom U is all about. It's very specific. We work with people that want to actually own their time and make the money they deserve and have the life that they want. Anyone can do it, as long as you have the right kind of business model, making sure that it is one patient an hour to make $50 an hour in New York City. It's not going to work. But It also takes just a really different way of looking at your business.